hello, everybody. Welcome back to our final parts of the live coverage of second annual Dogman and Cryptid conference here in White Settlement, Texas. We have on the show right now the amazing Nick Redfern. How have you been doing, bud?
Hey, man. Yeah, they've been good. Yeah, doing a bunch of stuff, and I got a new book out.
A couple new books, yeah?
Well,
but last time we had you on, you were getting ready to release your How the Pyramids Were Built.
Yes.
And that's come out, and now you have your new werewolf book as well.
And
the rise and the rise of the machines.
I've got a Mothman book coming out as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
When does that come out?
That's just come out. When I say literally, I mean 4 days ago.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have known. I'd have my copy waiting for me from Amazon right now.
Yeah.
Did you have that for sale here?
Did I what?
Did you have that here for sale during the show?
No.
I don't remember. Okay, because I was going to say I don't remember seeing it. I would have definitely grabbed a copy of that.
Oh, I put it on Facebook.
Okay.
And they put it on.
Okay.
But no, not really. I think.
Right.
But now, all of the books now, all Werewolf, Mothman, all of them in now. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. And I mean, you were prolific, Nick. You
all right, cool.
You have been writing at least for a good 20 years almost on topics varying from ranging on all kinds of things. From
I think it's 20. Well, 26. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was I wouldn't say a kid, but I was about 16 when I started writing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what an incredible endeavor it's been for you to see where your research and the breadth of the research that you've done over the last many, many years. Everything from Men in Black cases to other paranormal stuff to aliens, cryptids, lizard people, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So you were actively here presenting at the Dogman conference. Let's get into your presentation a little bit.
Wait, sorry, what did you...
Oh, no, your presentation that you gave yesterday.
Oh, I see.
Let's get into that topic a little bit.
Okay, all right, okay.
So, the whole concept of Dogman and the sightings that have happened here in Texas and all over the country of werewolves, things like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is a fascination angle because for me, it sort of crosses over between cryptozoology and a little bit of sort of the paranormal and science and things like that. Yeah. And I felt it was a good thing to do. I didn't want to do sort of like the history of Bigfoot. Yeah. The history of Area 51. It gets a little bit sort of, well, blah.
Yeah, little stale cracker after a while, little saltine.
Yeah. And I thought I would demonstrate that there is a place in the field of the search for monsters, but you can change it, and not for the sake of doing it, but to demonstrate to people that there are a lot of really weird things out there, which a lot of people have sort of kept them away. I mean, for example, it annoys me sometimes when, say, for example, somebody's talking about Bigfoot, and I say, yeah, well, Bigfoot, there's a really weird aspect to Bigfoot, with creatures vanishing and a connection with UFOs. Yeah. And there's so many people in ufology who hate that. For them, it just has to be, the only thing it can be is an unknown ape. And I've said, no, that's not the truth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even we've been talking a lot recently about the whole NHI, non-human intelligence, that was used in the recent panels. And there's a lot of people who were really upset about that term. And for me, it's one of those like, no, that takes it out of the box called Kleenex now. We've been throwing things into catch-all bins for years, and no, it could be us from a parallel dimension. It could be us from the future. It could be one of 100 things. To say that it is extraterrestrial or alien puts it in the box no different than the scientists who said it doesn't fit in our box of science, so it's not for us.
Well, actually, you're right. The problem is there are so many people, it's got to be on the straight line.
Yeah.
And sometimes it shouldn't go down on the straight line. It should go on the curve.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't know what the curve is, you know.
Well,
that could be the answer.
Well, and that's just it. Like right now, we're still in a lot of these fields, Nick. It's still very much getting the outline of the picture before we even start painting things in. You know?
Yeah.
There's still so much outlining of... because even the technology and the science that we have that's changed with declassification, things like that of various technologies in the field of UFO, UAP, all kinds of things. Like, it changes constantly. Even the ways that we can quantifiably look at evidence of Bigfoot, cryptids, what have you, is changing so rapidly, to be able to re-examine old evidence, new ways of gathering and looking at new evidence, like the whole idea of hand alleles, like skin oils being looked at now as a form of evidence for them.
Yeah. There is. Yeah. But I think it's like with the Loch Ness Monster. I mean, I wrote a book once with the amazing title of Nessie. And
deep reaching.
Yeah. But I wrote Nessie in the angle of I feel that the Loch Ness monsters are paranormal. I think that doesn't mean they're not creatures, but I think they have supernatural abilities.
In what way?
Oh, well, if you look into a lot of the stories, a lot of people, for example, have tried to take pictures and the pictures have suddenly gone off and the cameras haven't come out.
Yeah.
Aleister Crowley had a house at Boleskine House and performed all sorts of rituals at Boleskine House. And there's no doubt that place was turned into like a sinister place, you know.
Yeah. He was definitely into some interesting things, lifestyle-wise, magically, even cryptozoologically and paranormally.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting once you start digging into him.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you start again. Hang on. Well, if, say, for example, you put to the paranormal side of Nessie, of Bigfoot, certainly of Mothman and things like that, you put all of that together, then for me, that suggests that, yes, these are real entities, but they're not just bone and blood and etc., etc.
Yeah.
I think there's something, I won't say necessarily bigger than that, but it could be just out of our era, if you like. You know. But there is so many strange things connected with the Nessies.
Well, and you know, when you're talking about photos, blurriness, things like that. Yeah, there is that concept of if these are a vibrational animal, if they are coming from another dimension, things like that. Are our cameras even built to capture that in the right way?
Yeah.
And yeah, we've got a lot of science showing that we do have parallel dimensions. That we are basically living inside of a layer of suds, and we are one bubble inside of those suds. Yeah. You know, and those things are separated by meniscus. Very, very little separates two bubbles in a pool of suds.
No, you're right.
Our realities are very much the same way. I heard a great researcher who I interviewed at the MUFON conference just a week ago, who gave the example of three-dimensional objects cast a shadow in the second dimension. Yeah. We cast a shadow on flat surfaces, a two-dimensional. A fourth-dimensional object casts a shadow in the third dimension. And I was like, that is so poignantly and easily explained when you say it like that.
Well,
as to why it's there 1 second, gone the next. No different than my shadow right there. All I have to move and it's gone.
Yeah.
You know? And same thing. If there is that moment where between the two places, that third dimensional shadow can be seen.
Yeah.
And then suddenly that shifts. It's gone.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like with the Mothman. I mean, this new book I've got out about Mothman, and in that era, you know, it wasn't called the Mothman prophecies for no reason. It was because people appeared to have these incredible prophecies every time Mothman would cloud over the city.
Yeah.
And that's the reason.
Yeah, it was
for the name.
Yeah, it was one of the. He became very much like a harbinger of danger.
That's
almost where it was like.
Yeah.
You saw Mothman get ready for something to happen in the next week, like some horrible calamity in the news.
Yeah, and of course after that, then the Silver Bridge in the town collapsed, and dozens of people drowned.
Yeah.
You put all of that together. That is kind of like, for me, it sort of makes me think that Mothman is like, you know, a creature of doom kind of thing,
or almost like a gargoyle.
Well, yeah.
You know, in that sense of appearing for protection, you know, or appearing as an omen if something bad may happen. Yeah. You know, and when you think about it, very, very gargoyle-esque in appearance and things like that. Yeah. You know, I'm trying to remember the researcher's name. I just contacted him a week or so ago. Bridging Tragedies. Is the name of his book, and it goes through all of the tragedies that surrounded Mothman and the phenomenology behind the connection of all of those. I'll look it up and give it to you after the show. You guys should really connect and share research, because it's remarkable to think about that, and even to think a lot of our conversation here has been, especially in regards to Dogman, the idea of it. Is it maybe something that is untilled in our garden inside? You know, something that we're dragging with us. Kind of the whole idea of, I'm going to go out on a paranormal investigation. I'm going to a haunted place. I'm going to a haunted place. You've kept saying you're going to a haunted place. Are you charging that place before you get there? With your energy?
Yeah,
you know? Is it something that we are latently dragging with us to that experience that then makes that experience open, you know?
Yeah. But, no, you're right. I mean, there's so many, sorry.
It's okay.
Many.
Many.
It says, okay. What was the start? What was it to start again?
Well, the idea that we are dragging an energy along with us that may be helping manifest these things.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the sort of fascinating aspects of some of the work I've done and research is this angle of when you get these creatures which sort of essentially sort of suck us of our energy. Yeah. And this happens so many times and put people into like terrible states, you know. Yeah. And but I mean, it's a situation where we're talking about things that kind of look like sort of modern day vampires, some of these things. And it's hard to not say that, really.
Well, and even on the level of vampire, you know, there is that concept of consent. You're not having a vampire encounter in your home without consent. They ain't walking through the front door without you going like, "Hey, what's going on? Welcome in." Yeah. Without you opening the window, it's not going to happen. Yeah. So, it's one of those, are we, by default, giving our consent by going out and hunting for that, going out and hunting for a Bigfoot, going out and hunting for Mothman, that kind of stuff? Are we, by default, consenting into that system, you know? Yeah. So.
And I think we're seeing something really where on our planet, certain entities sort of feed on us, and it's almost like we are like a farm or a herd. We're like a herd or something, you know.
Yeah.
And that sort of ties in. I mean, the black-eyed children, you know, they suck kids, basically.
Let's get into that for a minute, because that's a topic I've been wanting to talk about for a little while with you. Let's get into some stories of black-eyed children and what that's all about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, the black-eyed children phenomenon has been around now for around about 20 years, and not too much before that. But, you know, I mean, some people have said, is this just some kind of just a creation, you know? But I don't think it was, because a number of well-known researchers have looked into it in a long time, in a long way. And so from my perspective, having known that in earlier times there were entities that literally did, you know, like suck people up.
Succubus, incubus, things like that.
Incubus, Middle Eastern entities.
Yep.
And it really just mirrors what we've got now. There's not that much difference. And there actually isn't much difference between the men in black and the women in black and the black-eyed children. They're all three dressing in black, and the skin's like white, you know, like paint-coloured white, you know. And again, I think their goal, if you like, or their order is to sort of suck us out. I think that is the thing, because so many stories I've got where people the next day after, you know, they get up in the morning and they look like anemic, and they're sick. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And you know, once again, just harkens back to so many stories, folklore, everything from vampires to incubus, succubus.
Yeah.
These have been things that, again, have been talked about by cultures for centuries.
You're
so, at that point, it's one of those. I would choose to believe the stories and look for evidence to prove otherwise.
Yeah, but
you know.
But there's other ones as well. I mean, you've got like the shadow people. Start that again. Let me say that.
No, shadow people. Yeah. I mean, and that's why I talk about it regularly on the show, because I have actively had experiences with shadow people to the point where one grabbed me in my bed.
Okay.
Like a point of physical contact, and that was one of the scariest experiences of my life, Nick.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's the Hat Man. Yeah.
Yep.
The shadow people. People are actually seeing Slender Man as well. In like a tulpa thought form, vision, if you like.
Well, and it's a fantastic thing to bring up. We regularly talk about that in the sense of egregore, the idea of a mass consciousness that has come to life.
Yep.
And the prime example of that is Freddy Krueger. That is something that Wes Craven said shortly after the first Freddy Krueger came out, was when the Night Stalker killings started happening, and Freddy Krueger was really there was Jason Voorhees, things like that, but he was really like the first superstar killer, you know, where it was like you were rooting for Freddy. And it was weird. Yeah, and he was like, it was strange for me whenever I released the second one, and I went out and I was doing the tours, and for some reason I was on Oprah.
Oh, okay.
About the upcoming second movie. And in when I came out, I saw the audience, and I saw people who had their kids dressed as Freddy Krueger. And he was like, I couldn't grasp, I tried to make this dude the most awful human being you would ever think of. Like, he is a child molester. The parents came and killed him on purpose out of vengeance, and now suddenly the kids are dressing like him. And he thought that this whole takeover led to an entity that took over the Night Stalker and led him to the killings. That it was basically a topa that, because of the love of this evil character, came to life and embodied in somebody and put them to work.
Yeah, and I think more and more people are seeing this. You know that this is going on, and it's going over here, and it's going there, and they've all got these weird hats. You know, and they're all sort of all the same almost in sort of growing degrees.
Yeah.
And that sort of goes back to the earlier ones as well, like you said, incubus, succubus, and biblical things.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just one of these situations where, you know, we've spent so much time like on watching the TV or whatever. Everybody's forgetting or not even realizing all of these, say, 8 or 9 different types of entities are sort of flowing around in the dark, just, you know, sort of rubbing their hands for what I'm going to do next.
Their rules and plans never changed. and we say it on the show all the time. Just because you don't believe in them doesn't mean they don't believe in you. You know, like as maniacal as that sounds, it's true. And we have to consider that because yes, if we are exacerbating or contributing to that through our topas, through our egregores, through these mass consciousness movements. And that would also explain, once again, one of the things we bring up regularly are some of these, I'm not saying that there is not a physical ape, hominid, Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But the ones walking through portals, the ones seen with UFOs, is it possibly the fact that that is something else that is using a trope in our head that we would be comfortable with or identify with? Even if it's scary to us, like Dogman, might scare you to the point of freeze instead of flight,
True,
or fight, you know. But it's something that you recognize that wouldn't scare you as much as their original form. You know, and that would explain a lot of the similarities that we see in the description of Hat Man and the description of these things because it's working off of what you have seen and what you identify it as. You know.
And there's also the angle that when they get their grips in, really they never go away. It's really difficult, you know.
Yeah.
And if there's the other point as well, if you don't listen to them, what they start to do then is just play with you in their way. But their way of playing is like torment.
Yeah.
You know, every day something goes wrong. Negativity every day. The TV blows up.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Well, that life where you're walking around almost like with a cloud over you.
Yeah, exactly.
My mom, my mother used to use that phrase about me when I was a kid. It was just like calamitous things happened. Things would just. It's not that I wasn't trying. Things just went awry. She was like, it was like there was just a rain cloud that followed you. You know, you can wash the car all day. It doesn't matter. It's going to rain. And that's just how, and for a long time in my life, that until I found my path and what I was supposed to be doing, those barriers seem to be there all the time. All the time. They aren't there anymore because I'm doing something totally different. But a lot of it, I believe, is what we focus on and how we focus on it, Nick. You know, I mean, even when it comes to experience and how we process experience and that ontological shock that happens where like your world is just rocked, as is your belief, as is your personal spirituality. And until you find somebody that can either respect and understand that or has had similar experience, it can be hard. It can be hard.
A lot of it can.
Here's maybe a personal question, Nick, but with all of this research, are you personally a spiritual or religious person?
Well, I do think there's. I think there's like a life force, something like that. I don't have a particularly. I don't adhere to a specific or religion.
That's what I was getting at because these are some very deep spiritual points that you were talking about.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's
it's awesome and fantastic to see it, from a researcher, B, from a level-headed person, C, from somebody who is not a person of, like, religious foundation in their life, that was like a Wednesday churchgoer and Sunday churchgoer, you know, like going 2 or 3 nights a week to church, that kind of stuff. That you are exploring the fact that this is the possibility, that perhaps a dark entity or other entity is doing this.
Yes.
So it's very fascinating and interesting to me that is where your years of research has led you to, and that's the conclusion that you have.
Yeah, and if I did find absolute proof of a particular religion,
oh, sure,
you know, I would stay with it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, but in saying that, for me right now, I do think there's something. And because, you know, I've noticed when somebody dies, very often something weird happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like a synchronicity, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why I think there's something. But I don't have enough to say it's this religion or this one or that one. But it's but there's something.
There's something.
Yeah.
There's something.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, kind of the same way that so many scientists are. There's call it what you want, prime mover, whatever. But there is something out there.
Yeah.
Whether or not it has anything to do with afterlife or whatever, that's a totally different situation and a point of personal faith. But yeah, once again, I find it very, very interesting, the fact that these are the conclusions that you've come to, and these are the educated places that you've come to, despite any personal religion, because frequently the people who are of this mind in the cryptid community are very religiously based. You know, they're Sunday church goers, Wednesday Bible study, things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I happen to find that to be the case. And I find it really remarkable that, you know, this, once again, through cold, hard research, this is the conclusion that you've come to, despite any spiritual belief or religious belief. You know, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. I guess maybe the rest of us have to wait, you know.
Well, you know, it's one of those. Will we ever get an answer? Who knows?
Well,
the important thing is to keep questioning.
Yeah.
It's to keep questioning. I mean, the day you stop asking questions, you'll probably stop breathing.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way it should work.
But I just wonder if, you know, all of us just have to wait. You know, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, when you think about life after death, I mean, nobody really knows what that means.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. And I actually sponsored and went to the near-death conference last year, the International Association for Near-Death Studies. And, the Bigelow Institute has a $500,000 grant. If you can show positive connection and communication with the afterlife, they got $500,000 waiting for you, folks. Feel free to give them the data, because they're actively searching for it. They're actively searching for active communication with the other side, and that's pretty interesting to think about when you're talking. A place built on scientific endeavor,
well,
like the Bigelow Institute. You know.
I mean, remember, it's never gone out of my mind that me and my ex-wife, when a dog died, Charity, and some really weird stuff happened. Like about 2 or 3 days afterwards, Dana could hear nails going up and down the corridor. We had a duplex, and you could hear all the way down,
skittering down the hallway.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and nobody could, and there was other things, and that really had me believing that dogs do have souls.
I had the same situation with our cat.
Yeah.
that we'd had since I was a kid. He'd gotten pretty old, and I went and, had him put down. It was a sad day. But he'd come and he would sleep at the foot of my bed, things like that. And whenever I'd flip over, which I tend to do a lot during the night, his response was just a pat. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
Like, reach over and just swap me a few times on the foot. Like, hey, man, I'm sleeping here too. And the next night, I was laying in my bed. I was watching Star Trek, just sitting there. And I turned over in my bed, and I felt something swap my feet. Pop, pop, pop. And it was like, okay. There was no cat in bed with me or anything like that, but it was the distinct same reaction that Socks had every time that he was in my bed and I moved or shifted. It was like, hey, what are you doing?
I mean, if you think about it, maybe anything and everything that has ever lived has lived.
Yeah. And is living.
Yeah.
And is living, because by all means of science, I don't remember ever learning in any science class that energy will be destroyed. It changes form, does all kinds of things, but it doesn't just leave.
Yeah.
It doesn't just depart.
We'll see.
Well, I would venture a guess that our energy, because I mean we're all 90% empty space.
Yeah.
This is pretty well an agreed upon illusion that both of us think that this conference even exists right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's a pretty wild concept to think about, but it's kind of a truth.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
people talk about plants, flowers.
Yeah, absolutely. And even whenever you look at Carillion photography, the fact of you can take a Carillion photograph of a leaf that's just been removed from a tree, and you can snip part of one of the leaves off, and that part will still show in the Carillion photography image that you just snipped off. That field of electricity is still there, as though the plant thinks it's there. So pretty wild stuff when you start digging into it. And even once again, just to loop this back around, Nick, to the fact of are we affecting the frequencies of things with our frequency? Much like any magnet to a paper clip, that if you hold it next to the paper clip long enough, the paper clip is a magnet. You know, and anybody having these experiences, do you then become magnetized? Yeah. Is it then the fact that you're more prone to another experience? Yeah. Because of your experience and the shift in your vibration. Yeah. Because of it.
Yeah, there's so many questions.
Yeah. Exactly.
And not that many answers.
No, but it's about exploring the questions.
Well, it is. Yeah.
And it's about, truly, I say it on the show regularly, the Magellan concept. We need more people that are willing to sail over the horizon, Nick. We need more people that are willing to sail over the horizon. Reckless abandon. Let's see what's over there. It may be scary, but it changed the world. Magellan's ride changed the world. We found out it doesn't just end. So it's pretty wild. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it. You're always entirely busy. I happened to catch you at a show where you sold every book that you brought. So
you're welcome, Chris. You're welcome. You're very welcome.
It's always great having you on. And let everybody over here know where they can go to keep up with your work, where they can go to buy your books, where they can go to subscribe to your newsletter, because your newsletter is great. I love getting that in my email box. I follow it all the time. So
thanks.
I am always Google stalking you and your work. Never be disappointed with the fact that I'm doing that.
I'll keep going as long as I can keep going.
That's it.
I'll be going.
That's it. Well, let everybody know where they can find all your work and all that good stuff, Nick.
Well, several places. I have my blog, which is called World of Whatever. And my Amazon page, that's a good one to get to. Yeah. So those are the ones I usually go with.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time today. Right. Well, you are online checking out all the amazing work and research of Nick Redfern, everybody. Make sure to stop on by CuriousRealm.com. That is where you can go find all the episodes. That's where you can tune in live on Tuesdays. That's where you can like, follow, subscribe, share, and also fill out our experiencer form. If you're an experiencer of the paranormal, if you've had a cryptid sighting, UFO witness, feel free to contact us. Give us your information. Give us your evidence, your pictures. We'll present it to our experts and see if we can get you some answers. Stay tuned for our final bit of coverage right here at Texas, at the second annual Dogman and Cryptid Conference here in White Settlement, Texas. We'll be right back after this, folks.